The idea of a rival to Star Wars, a sci-fi equivalent, has existed for a long time. It's called Star Trek. But of course, the series are very different from each other in the way that it handles its world building, its sort of magic mechanics, if there are any in Star Trek. I really don't really know that much about Star Trek. Admittedly, I should watch it, but I haven't watched too much of it. All I know is the Force is not in there. There's not, necessarily lightsabers being swung around every time. But Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon advertised itself as basically Star Wars, but darker, a little bit more edgy to it. And I'm here to tell you why I stopped watching it halfway through. So, let me just say, if you like this, totally fine. You're allowed to like what you like, even if it's bad. And I like bad things. I like Shark Boy and Lava Girl. That movie, the Spy Kids movies, those movies are objectively very bad. And yet, here I am. It's okay to like bad things, but it helps to acknowledge when things are bad, right? It helps to acknowledge that the things that you like are sometimes bad. And that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be so defensive. You don't have to be so heartbroken over someone not liking it. But this movie is pretty bad. So let me just start by saying, talking about the basic plot. Now I stopped halfway through. So if you want to watch this review and you want to say, well, I didn't give it a full shot. I didn't watch all the way through, so my opinion is invalid. You are free to feel that way as well. Totally fine. Go ahead. But as for as for me, I think that the main issue immediately, right off the bat, was it starts basically just like Star Wars: A New Hope. It's got, instead of an opening crawl of text, going up the screen, it's narrated by Anthony Hopkins, which I wasn't expecting to be in this. But he basically tells that, and there are going to be spoilers for this. There are going to be spoilers because I can't really talk about the problems I have with it without talking about the plot. Basically talks about how there was this utopian society with a king and queen and their daughter, and the day that she was supposed to be granted some kind of thing, special thing or whatever, a ceremony basically. And during that day, all of them were killed, and then the mother world stepped in and basically became the Empire. Essentially, this is the Star Wars Empire, right? And I'm going to compare it to Star Wars because it is itself pitting itself against Star Wars. It is doing very much the same things, just in a different style, in what they claim to be an adult style. But how I feel about this movie is that it's like if a 13-year-old kid got a hold of millions of dollars and made a movie of cool action figures fighting each other with not much thought in the story. And here's why. The story is basically this. The main character, Korra, is she's a child of war, as she says in a monologue within the first 5 minutes of the movie. And she basically, as it turns out, she is an orphan. Her family was killed by the mother world, and one of the young sort of higher ups, right, a young general who just basically went in and just killed an entire city, right, killed her family, and in a scene that I think was rather interesting, saw her as a kid holding a gun at him, walked up towards her, pulled the guns, like a revolver primer, pulled it back, and then basically put it under his chin, okay, go ahead, shoot me. She pulls the trigger, but the gun is empty. So he, thinking, this girl just tried to kill me, and I killed her entire family, so I think she's a little bit mad at me. I'm going to take her as my daughter. Which, nothing wrong with that. I think that's a very interesting plot point. I mean, that was something very interesting, very similar, to an anime. I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it was a Viking anime. It was made by the same people who made Attack on Titan. And and it was very good. It was a very good plot. The idea of taking in someone that you've killed, the family of this kid, is raised basically by Vikings and becomes a certified badass, and it's just is a killer of man, essentially. And this is a similar story, except she's not trying to kill the guy who killed her family. She is she is basically just sort of over the years becomes, I guess, uncaring about her past family, and just becomes like fully devoted to this mother world. And the idea for her character is that eventually there was a mission that went wrong, or maybe she attempted to flee or something. And she was taken in by this older guy in the village that she landed at, and she, for the past 2 seasons, which I'm assuming would be maybe year and a half, she becomes one of the villagers, and she's the happiest she's ever been. But then, oh boy, look in the sky! There's a giant ship coming in, and that's basically the mother world coming to this planet to take their resources and basically enslave everyone on it. It's not very subtle at all, and even the uniforms bear a striking resemblance to somewhat. It makes me think of Russian, but it also makes me think of German, of the old kind, the 1940s kind, and it's very much on the nose. Whereas Star Wars, the Empire was basically an analogy. You could look at it as an analogy as World War II Germany, but it didn't do so obviously visually, right? Everyone had the stormtroopers had the all white armor, the helmets, and then you had Darth Vader, right? Who was immediately, once you saw him, you knew this guy is a big deal, right? And what this sort of fails to do immediately upon establishing it is that the people just it looks too on the nose. The uniforms look too on the nose. And while it's interesting that you get to see the soldiers interact with each other, I think that's very interesting. It's very much to the point, not subtle at all. They're not trying to disguise themselves like, okay, we're here to bring order. We're here to bring peace. No, we're just straight up evil. And we're not just going to, kill your entire village if you don't give us free food. We're also going to R-word your citizens in literally a very uncomfortable scene to watch, where a girl is almost R-worded. I can't say the word on YouTube. But she is basically dragged into this barn. And all the soldiers are cool with it, and except for one guy. And the one guy, I think, is one of the most interesting characters in this. He sort of makes me think of Finn from the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And he was one of the few things that I was really, really interested in when I was watching that series of films. But basically, this girl here, Cora, the main character, she's going to run away because the big bad, mother world is here to ruin everything. She's just going to run because fighting would just get people killed, and she doesn't want to be responsible for that. Well, she hears the girl screaming, and basically goes into a barn full of maybe 10 soldiers, and basically kills all of them. And while this is interesting, at the time, I'm very confused, because the backstory I told you for her is told 1/3 of the way through the movie. You don't know who she is, you don't know why she's here, and you don't know what skills she has up until this moment. This moment in the action where you get an idea that she might be, a former soldier or something. And she's just completely just killing all of them. Dudes, twice her size as far as muscle mass go. She's just destroying all of them. And it's not so much a physical fight as it is, well, it is, but it's more so a gunfight, right? It's more so a gunfight. She starts with an axe, and then she uses that to kill the first guy, gets the gun, starts shooting all the other guys. And during this fight, the soldier that was saying, hey, do not R-word this girl, this is wrong, he ends up starting, joining the fight too and shooting, the other bad soldiers. Um, and there's another interesting character, Anthony Hopkins' character, which is a robot. Um, the backstory on that is kind of explained that the robots served a king and queen, but after they were assassinated, the robots all became just kind of just docile and just did whatever the mother world told them to. And this guy, the girl that's about to be, assaulted, is, she, before this happens, she talks to him and says, I think you're kind of cool, that I think you have lots of, compassion to give. And then she makes him a little flower crown. It's cute. It's nice. It's wholesome. It's like the honestly, the best moment in this entire movie, half movie that I saw, because I didn't finish watching it. But the robot ends up shooting the general. And it's actually really cool to see that. And in this barn, at that moment, I was like, okay, we have our main cast. We have Cora. We have the soldier that ran away. I'm looking for his name on the casting. I don't recognize any of these guys to be him. Unfortunately, I'm not really seeing who it is. No, I'm really not. But we have this soldier who's rebelled. We have Cora, who is the main character, and then we have Anthony Hopkins' robot guy, which is apparently named Jimmy. We have these three characters that are all different, but they all have like a similar thing, is that they all hate the mother world. That's perfect. We have our cast. We have everything set up. Let's go. Let's travel. Let's find some more soldiers to help fight in this battle for the farm to keep the village safe. And then the movie just says, "Nah, fam, we ain't doing that." The main girl, Cora, is gonna take Gunner, which has been a sleazeball the entire time, and is the reason, or maybe not the reason, but one of the reasons why the leader of the village dies, which they all just refer to as father. She takes the sleazeball, and just those two go off to another planet to find this rebellion general dude in a cantina. And in this cantina, which is, obviously going to be similar to Star Wars, there's this alien dude who grabs the guy Gunner, the sleazeball, grabs him by the balls. I'm not even exaggerating. Grabs him by the balls, the nutsack. He grabs it and he says, "Hey, buddy, come to bed with me." And so homegirl Cora here says, "Okay, well, I'm just going to beat you up, get out of here, never come back." Well, guess what? He comes back, and we have a slow motion. God, so much slow motion in this movie, in this bar fight scene where, there's a large gunfight. There's like 7 people shooting at her, and thank God they all miss, because she can just somehow just effortlessly just kill all of them, because none of them can hit a shot. And I know you can say the same thing about Star Wars. I get it. But in Star Wars, they present it in like a way that's sort of understandable, right? They present it in a way that seems to make sense. The characters are hiding behind walls, and it's very much like typical tactics and everything like that. The things that Cora is doing is superhuman. Her reflexes are not human. And again, you could say that about Star Wars. What about all these sword fights? How do they have all these reflexes to reflect, laser bolts and everything? Well, the benefit with Star Wars is that they had the Force. And the Force is used to explain how they have this heightened sense of things around them, like, blaster bolts that they can reflect and everything. This doesn't have that. She's supposedly just a normal person. And if she's not a normal person, I don't know it. Halfway through the film, I don't know it, because all I know is that her family was killed. And I only find this out a third of the way through the movie. And she was trained to be a soldier, and she became the best of the best, and blah, 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 blah. And now she's here, and now she's rebelling. And it's like, I just don't buy it, right? I don't buy it whatsoever. I don't, looking at these scenes, it makes me think of a Bollywood movie, because it's like, it's so out there. It's so, like, unrealistic, like, these things happening. And you might say, why does it need to be realistic in a movie about, like, space traveling to different planets and different aliens and all this kind of stuff? Why does it have to be realistic? because I have to believe that if these people are normal people, if I see them doing non-normal people things, I immediately call it as bullcrap, because I cannot suspend my disbelief enough to see this one person, regardless if it's a man or a woman. The fact that Korra is a woman has nothing to do with this, but it's like, it's just, I cannot believe that one person can, dodge a million bullets in one movie and like just perfectly fire back every single time. I cannot believe it unless she has some kind of enhancement. If you want to tell a story about how this girl has some kind of hyper sensing ability that she can like see and like just feel people around her sort of and just shoot them perfectly because she knows where they are before they even move there, then explain that. Tell me that, please. And if it is explained, they don't do it before in the first half of the film. Let me tell you. But to go back to the Vinland Saga, that was the anime I was talking about. Vinland Saga. There's a similar thing with this. This boy is killing men that are much older than him, that are much bigger than him. But especially in the beginning, he doesn't get off, scot-free. Sometimes he gets hurt. Sometimes, his kills are very much lucky, and they don't shy away from the fact that it is lucky. And it's done in a way that it's not overboard, right? He's not killing like, a dozen people within a span of 1 minute. It's usually just one guy in like a minute's time, or like, two. And then by the time he gets older, then it's more understandable because we have seen him. We have seen him grow from this kid into, a man who is a very trained killer. And it makes sense. It's something that we see the character grow through and learn these skills, and thus it feels more realistic, might not be the word, but it feels more earned. It feels more natural, I guess, for us as the viewer to see the character from point A, where he's weak, to point B, where he's a badass. And with Korra, we never get to see a weak point. This character has no flaws. This character has zero flaws whatsoever, and I would say close to zero struggles as far as a character goes. She there's obviously this talk about her regretting serving the mother world, but at the same time, it's like if that's her main flaw, then obviously the solving of that is for her to defeat the mother world, right? For her to eventually be the one that beats it, that tears it down. But the main issue is that that's just going to happen already. Show me something interesting. Show me something like a character growth. Show me this character learning to be patient, or show me this character learning to trust others, or something like that. And by the time we start the movie, she's already trusting of others. She already has people that she cares about. So there's not really anything interesting about this character as a main character for me to be attached to, for me to want to root for. If anything, I was far more interested in the soldier boy, who turned against his captain for all the other soldiers trying to assault this innocent woman. I was interested in his character because he started from a point of, oh, this is just another one of the soldiers, maybe he's a young guy, maybe he's a little bit green or something. And now he's a full-blown hero. Like, now I want to see this guy grow, and he just doesn't go anywhere. The robot is very interesting because they've been passive and just following orders blindly without any issue. But now this one suddenly, has a change of heart and shoots the military captain to save the girl. That's super interesting. These two characters are far more interesting than Korra because Korra's story is not told to us in an interesting way. Here's how you fix this movie, at least the beginning part of it. Here's how you fix this movie, the story of it. You show Korra's family being killed on her planet. You show her being abducted by, this military, this general guy. You show her training and getting older and eventually becoming a full-on soldier for the mother world. Then you show a mission going wrong, or then you show her having a change of heart and leaving. Then have her be found by this farm village and show her enjoying life. That would automatically make me far more interested in this character, because I see where she's come from and I see where she's at, and I see that she's happier where she's at now. And the place that she's at is now under attack from her previous life. That is interesting, but the way it's shown is just not cohesive. It does not grab my attention like the way I suggested it to be. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm the best writer in the world. I do a little writing and I think my stories are good, but I'm not going to say that I'm the most prolific writer ever known. But me just explaining that, I know what I like. I know what I've seen in other shows and movies, and I think that would be a far more easy way to get us to at least understand this character a little bit more before you just throw action in our face. And action this does throw in our face. Let me tell you, Rebel Moon. Let me explain how this movie feels. It feels like an episodic story told in a movie. Because if I want to compare it to something, The Mandalorian is one whole story, but it does things episodic. So while there is an overall plot, each episode has like its own sort of start and end point that tells a complete story. That's why it's so rewatchable, at least the first 2 seasons, is because each episode can be watched or rewatched, and you can get a fulfilling story from start to end. You know, usually it starts, just for instance, season 2, episode 1, Mando goes to Tatooine and he helps this village fight this giant alien creature on Tatooine. And by the end of it, the village is successful, the day is saved, and the creature is dealt with. I guess mild spoilers for that. And that is fun to watch, right? That is fun to watch. This is it feels like it's trying to do that. Maybe it's not trying to, but it's doing that in a movie, where every time they go to a different planet, it focuses on a new character, and it has them have a starting point where they're not so good to an end point where a obstacle is overcome. The blacksmith. Oh, first of all, I guess the bar scene. The bad alien who's trying to, or doesn't try to. He assaults Gunner. He is dealt with. Him and his gang of dudes is dealt with. And they meet this guy named Kai, who takes them from one planet to the next planet. That could be a whole episode plot. You fill it up with a little bit other things, and that could be a whole episode plot. Go to this next planet, which is like this sort of mountainous valley type of thing. And there's this enslaved blacksmith, and the owner of him makes a deal that if he can tame this black griffin thing, this flying bird lion looking thing, if he can tame it and ride it, then I'll set him free. But if he fails, all 3 of you are enslaved. And that gives stakes, right? That gives stakes to it. And that could be an episode, right? Give us more time to learn about the blacksmith. Give us more time for the characters to have some interesting and fun interactions with each other. And then show the final test. The final test being the griffin. And maybe the slave master doesn't like that, and he decides to try and kill them all anyway. Then you have an action scene with some gunfights and everything. That's not what happens in the movie. The slave master just gives him up and seems to be happy about it, which... Why? Anyway, the next time they go to another planet, it's like this cobalt mine, apparently, planet, and they go deep underground into this underground city type of thing, and there's this Asian chick, and she's got 2 swords, and apparently, unrelated to the entire plot of the movie, there's this spider woman thing that's kidnapping children because the planet's air is toxic and she can't have spider people babies. So she's taking all the human babies and killing them in revenge. And so this Asian girl's got to kill her with her 2 swords. And during the entire fight, eventually she sets the kid that's been taken captive free. And after this point, take a guess how many people shoot the alien spider lady. None. None. There's so many opportunities to just shoot this bitch at any point, and they don't do it. It's stupid. It's so stupid. It's unbelievable, the logic. Why would you not just shoot this thing? There's no risk of shooting a hostage at this point. Just shoot it. Why does she have to use two swords to do it? And here's the best part. The best part is the swords can light up to be basically lightsabers at any time. And the Asian lady is just like, I'm not going to do this until now. For some reason. And so she ignites the blades and she attacks, but it's still not enough because the spider lady picks her up and holds her like this for 5 seconds. Just long enough for the Asian chick to stab her with the blades. And she dies. Did that make any sense? No, it didn't. I didn't think so. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. The entire scene is just, like I said, action figure A versus action figure B. It's just not good, right? It's just like, it's a plot. It's a multi-million-dollar plot told by a 13-year-old who's listening to Linkin Park and playing with action figures. That's it. Kids saw Star Wars and thought, ooh, this would be cool if it was edgy. And that's it. That's all this movie is. It's just like bad slow-mo fight scenes, a plot that's told out of order, which makes it very hard to watch, and interesting characters. I'm not going to lie. Some of the characters are interesting. I'm very interested in like the soldier boy and the robot, and I'm even halfway interested in Gunner because Gunner starts off as kind of a coward and a sleaze, and I want to see that, change. And there is a point where he does something brave. He steps in and saves the kid that's captured by the Spider-Woman alien. He takes her out of harm's way. He takes her out of the equation, out of the battle. And that is good. That's some character growth. There's a little bit of evidence of brain activity in the writer's room. But it doesn't get shown very much. And especially with the lead character, she's just if they would have told the story, like I said, if they would have told the story in order, it would have been far more interesting. And would have explained why she's able to do these things. And a counterpoint. Here's another comparison. The Mandalorian, right? The Mandalorian is a bounty hunter whose backstory doesn't get shown until, maybe about a fourth or a third way into the first episode. You get a hint that, his parents died protecting him from some sort of battle. And it hints that maybe that's how he becomes a Mandalorian. And as the series progresses, you get more of that flashback. You get to see more and more of that as it continues. The difference is that the Mandalorian is someone who you can visually see should be good at fighting. He's got armor, he's got weapons, and as soon as he enters the room, there's a glare from everyone else. They automatically get the point across that this guy is someone who is not to be messed with. This is a guy who is skilled. This is a guy who you look at him and you're like, oh, he's a Mandalorian. That is skillful. And maybe that's not the fairest comparison because the Mandalorian came well after, 40 years of previous Star Wars content. But the idea is the same on paper. Is you've got this character who's got insane skills, who can beat, multiple people. But even the Mandalorian doesn't fight 7 people at once by himself and come out perfectly fine. Most of the time he does get beat up. And in fact, Mando loses a lot of battles that he's in. He's or not necessarily loses, but he struggles with a lot of battles he's in, right? She does not struggle. There is not a single hint of struggle. And I can't blame it on the actors. I can only blame it on the writing team. And just, wow, what a mess. So that's why I stopped watching Rebel Moon. There was such terrible logic in the fight scenes, such terrible slow motion constantly throughout the movie. So overused, it's insane. A plot that feels like it's written by a 13-year-old. and a plot that can't even stay consistent, a plot that can't even stay focused. It has to keep changing to, ooh, new toy, new toy, new toy. And it's just not organic at all. Would I recommend watching this movie? No. I would not recommend it. I went into this neutral. Let me just say that. I went into this neutral. I'm like, okay, some people are saying like, oh, this looks like it's going to be bad, or oh, this looks like it's going to be interesting. And I didn't care. I tried to stay as out of it as I possibly could, and just let the movie speak for itself by watching it. And I gave it a shot, and I could not finish it. I can't say there's many movies that I have walked out of, or at least, stopped watching since I watched this on Netflix, halfway through it or partially way through it. But this is one of them. This is one of them because it was so bad that I could not overlook it. I could not. There was so much about it that was bad that I could not get myself into the movie. And it's unfortunate. I would love a Star Wars competitor, especially since, Disney Star Wars doesn't have the greatest track record. I would love to have a competitor. It's like with Rumble and YouTube. It's Kick and Twitch. I would love to have competitors, but a lot of the times there's just some things that don't work out with it. There's some issues that just will not let it stand out and be really good. If you want a somewhat Star Wars competitor, go watch Dune. I've heard good things about that. Me personally, I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard very good things about it. And maybe I will watch it now, since this put a bad taste in my mouth. Maybe I'll give that a shot and see, how that is. But with all that being said, thanks so much for watching. If you want more of my content, leave a like down below. Little Miss Steel comic coming to you 2024. I've got some great artwork that I've been posting on my new Twitter. I have two Twitters now. I have my main one, which is EV Comics, which I just, post art, memes, and whatever. And then I have the Little Miss Steel, which is literally just at Little Miss Steel is the username, where I only post things about Little Miss Steel. So if you're interested to see how my writing fares against Rebel Moon, you can actually read the novelization of Little Miss Steel on Tapas for free right now. Linktree will be in the description. You can click on that, find it, read it. Tell me your thoughts. If you like it, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. But until next time, thanks so much for watching. Peace out.